12th, if it's any day before Friday. And I just need to call him the night before to let him know. Because he said he's trying to decide what to do. He got a hearing coming up with that Rose Hill people. Okay, what time?
At this time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, June 14th, 2022, City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. If everyone please would turn off their mobile phones, devices, and council, make sure that your mic is on. You can see the green light. Present here in the chambers for this meeting is District 2, Grady Simpson. District 3, Mayrani Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem. District 4, Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. And District 5, Tim Royce is not with us, but he will be attending the council meeting, so he's going to be running a little bit late. Our first order is invocation. Grady, would you mind leading us in invocation? If you would, remain standing for the pledges.
May we bow our heads, please? Oh, Father God, we come giving you thanks for another day. Thank you for keeping us through all this world's tragedies and ups and downs that we've experienced over 2022. We pray for those who are in Ukraine, who are struggling to hold on to their country, which is sovereign. We pray, God, even for Russia, for their understanding. Show mercy with both sides, God, so that this world will be a better place. We pray for Terrell. We thank you for keeping us and not allowing the tragedies that have come upon others to come to Terrell. We know very well, God, that it can, but we pray that you will continue to protect us and allow this city to be an example of doing things the right way according to your will. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
So there is a quorum present. Next on the item is mayor and council community recognitions and events. Do we have any from anyone?
Mayor, I was hoping that either council member Thomas or Simpson would be able to tell us more about the June 20th event.
Okay. All right, so this is our Juneteenth celebration for the city of Terrell, which is actually going to be taking place on June the 20th, which is on a Monday. Stephanie, would you brief us a little bit?
Sure. June 20th, we'll have our 6th annual Juneteenth celebration. We're really excited about our continued partnership. It's a free event where we can just reflect on our heritage and the blessings we have and the freedoms we have. We have fun and games for children, family. It's a good family-friendly event. Starts about 11 o'clock. Please come and share in that event. It'll be at the Breezy Hill Park at 351 New Hope Street. And we look forward to just being there all day. And then we're going to end the day with an inaugural game where we'll be able to play with the lights in the park, and we'll have a good day of fun, just reflecting and thanking God for our blessings. So thank you for bringing that up, Councilwoman Marani. It's important to us that we continue to celebrate our freedoms.
Thank you, Stephanie. Also, we have on July the 4th, a celebration for the city of Terrell. We actually have it a 2-day event. On July the 3rd is a concert that will be held at the airport. And then on July the 4th, the fireworks will be taking place. Again, that's through the Chamber of Commerce. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to them. It's a 2-day event, July the 3rd and July the 4th, sponsored by the Chamber and the British Flying Training Museum, right, Association. And as far as Juneteenth, the city is celebrating Juneteenth festivities, but through the Breezy Hill Park Association, again, that will be on the 20th and not actually on the 19th. That was a decision made by the Breezy Hill organization, and we certainly want to get out and support them on that. Today is Flag Day. So on June the 14th of 1777, during the American Revolution, the Continental Congress adopts a resolution stating that the flag of the United States be 13 alternate stripes, red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. The national flag, which became known as the Stars and Stripes, was based on the Grand Union flag, a banner carried by the Continental Army in 1776 that also consisted of 13 red and white stripes. So as we celebrate Flag Day, just wanted to throw that out there. We also have anyone else on recognitions? Okay, our next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. We do have one that would like to address the council. At this time is set aside on the agenda to invite any person to address the council on issues not subject to a public hearing. Routine administrative matters are best discussed with the appropriate city staff before bringing them to the council. Prior to the meeting, please complete a citizen's participation form, which we have. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.042, the City Council cannot discuss, consider, or take action on matters not listed on the agenda. Speakers should limit their comments to 3 minutes and are asked to speak into the microphone provided, identifying themselves for the record. The total amount that we normally set aside is about 15 minutes, so we always welcome those from our community to come out and speak. I have a form that's filled out by Kathy Bell. If you would please come and address the council.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Ms. Bell, would you raise that up a little bit? There you go. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
My name is Kathy Bell. I'm a resident of Terrell. I have occasion to drive from Terrell Senior Terraces to Faith Fellowship Church of the Nazarene on Griffith Avenue most every day, where I am a treasurer, so I cannot help but notice that last year a flashing yellow light was installed about 50 to 75 feet south of Baker Street on Rockwell Avenue. The next day I was putting mail in the drive-through mail drops at the post office on Baker Street and noticed as I drove west on Baker Street approaching Rockwell Avenue that there was no flashing light as you approached the school zone. Consequently, in the last year, I have traversed my way down Rockwell, slowing down to 20 miles per hour due to the flashing yellow light on Rockwell Avenue before Baker Avenue, that cars turning right from Baker Avenue onto Rockwell Avenue do not observe the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. Also, on the east side of Rockwell Avenue, across from Gilbert Willey Elementary School, there is no U-turn within school zone signage, like there is for Barrett School down the road on both sides of the street. I have witnessed many cars on many days U-turning to drop off and pick up their children, students, and rush home or to work. Safety should be our top priority in Terrell. So if at all possible, I'd like to see those signage put up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bell. Is there anyone else? Staff will be getting in touch with you, okay? Next item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes. Discuss and consider minutes from the regular city council meeting on June the 7th of 2022. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from the regular city council meeting on June 7, 2022 as presented.
Okay, and I'm somewhere misplaced now. I'm ready to go home, just a minute. I was ready to go home, I packed it up. I didn't see a quorum when I came in, so. We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3. Is there a second? Have a second from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Any opposed? Motion carries with a unanimous consent of those present. Next item on the agenda is discussion items. Item 7.1, discuss resolution number 1094, resolution authorizing issuance of a notice of intent that the city of Terrell, Texas intends to establish tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, city of Terrell, TIRZ number 2, pursuant to the Tax Increment Financing Act, Texas Tax Code, Chapter 311, for the city of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the city secretary to establish a notice of public hearing in a newspaper of general circulation in the area and on the city website, authorizing preparation of an interlocal participation agreement for partnership between the city of Terrell and Kaufman County, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with P3 Works LLC for TIRZ administration services. Instruct the city secretary to send notice of intent to all taxing entities within TIRZ number 2 pursuant to the Tax Increment Financing Act and providing an effective date. This is City Manager Mike Sim.
Mayor, thank you very much. So we've got a series of 3 items here, and we'll talk about them one at a time. And they are potentially very transformative for the city of Terrell, so it's worth spending our time with them. Agenda item page 15 is the one. See, look there, Dawn is perfect. She just put that map right up. So I'm going to ask John Godwin to come up and help me do a little part of this discussion. John, as you know, is our consultant who works with us on a variety of management issues, and he's been spearheading some of this effort. So I'll give you a broad outline, and then if there's any details to be filled in, we'll let John do that.
John, just for clarity, are we going to take one individual, or are we going to talk about?
No, we should do them each individually.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So on this particular one, what we want to do is create what we're going to call Tax Increment Refinance Zone number 2. As you know, our current Tax Increment Refinance Zone is a method by which we say, okay, with no development and no infrastructure, there's very little property value that pays taxes on a piece of land. On the other hand, if you could get somebody in the private sector to invest money in roads, water, sewer, drainage, infrastructure, and then pay them back out of the brand new property taxes, it can be a real win-win for both the city and for the taxpayers and for the developer. So what we have is an opportunity to induce a couple of large pieces of land to annex within the city limits and join voluntarily into the city limits by setting up some tax increment refinance zones. So on this particular one, you see a map that shows you 1,800 acres of the area in red. It's partially in the city limits, partially outside of the city limits. The part outside the city limits is about 1,100 acres. And by forming this tax increment refinance zone, the property owner would voluntarily come into the city limits. As we work through this process, there's lots of steps. Tonight is a very preliminary step where we look at a resolution that we would hope to pass next week. And that resolution that we would hope to pass next week basically lays out a series of instructions for staff more than anything else. So you're not actually creating by this resolution a TIRZ or a tax increment zone. What you do when you vote on this resolution is to say, okay, staff, this has made it so far in the process, go take some additional steps. So let's look at what those steps are going to be. The first one under Section 2 on the next page, under Section 1 on the next page is basically a statement that we intend to undertake measures required to create this tax increment refinance zone number 2. Section 2 gives some instructions to Dawn as your city secretary to post notices of a public hearing related to this topic. Not sure when those public hearings would be. We have to work with the county to set those. And that the notices would include all the descriptions and documents required by state law. Section 4 talks about that we would create what sometimes gets called a participation agreement with the county, and we have to come up with that participation agreement. Included with that participation agreement is a project plan and a finance plan, which is basically the big picture looking forward. So it takes the form of saying, well, look, there is very little agricultural value in the land now. If you add houses or businesses to the land, that it may generate a large amount of increment in the future, property value in the future, and then what do you spend that money on in terms of in terms of public infrastructure. And then Section 6 is you need somebody to audit it and administer it over time, and we found a group called P3 Works that we would recommend do that. And so Section 6 talks about moving forward with a discussion related to those folks. So if you go back to the map, if you would please, that's the zone where we're talking about. So I did that as a quick overview. So John, after we pass a resolution, which we would propose to do next week, give us kind of a walkthrough of all of the steps that happen after that.
Okay. We do have a work session and hopefully action item scheduled with the city, with Kaufman County 2 weeks from today on June 28th. And so the county would need to approve it's a form of an interlocal agreement, ILA. In this case, it's a participation agreement, and that's where they agree to participate in the TIRZ by dedicating a part of their tax rate as well. Excuse me. And then in the month of July, we have a whole series of things we hope will happen in a timely manner for Eastland. Eastland is actually TIRZ number 3, which I'm getting ahead of myself. So, but they'll all follow this same process, and that is that zoning will need to take place. One of these 3 that we're talking about tonight has already gone to Planning and Zoning Commission for action. One's discussed with them. The other 2 will be before the Planning and Zoning Commission later this month. And so zoning is a big part of this. These will all be PDs, plan developments. In addition to that, you'll have a development agreement, you'll have a TIRZ agreement that'll have to be executed, and then the big 2 things will be the planning will be approved by the city council, and annexation. These are going to be all voluntary annexations, and altogether this will be a couple of thousand acres, or well over 2,000 acres. They'll be annexed into the city voluntarily. And so a lot of little things beside that, but those are the big things, that, you know, the development agreement, the zoning, and the annexation.
Any questions about any questions about tax increment refinance zone number 2?
Does anybody have any?
Wait, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There's 1,100 acres outside of the city limits on this map. Which one is that? Is that
It's on the left.
it's on the left side?
Okay. That's I-20 there at the top of it, and then the next road to the south that runs parallel, that's FM 148. That's owned by Centurion American. It'll be called Arboretum Estates. So that's the part that's outside the city that'll be coming in.
This is a voluntary annexation?
Correct. In fact, this particular group is very anxious to come into the city.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, John.
Sir.
Our next item on the agenda is 7.2, discuss resolution number 2012, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, accepting the recommendation of the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 1 Board of Directors, amending City Ordinance number 2355 by reducing the boundaries of Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 1 of the City of Terrell, Texas. Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, this one comes to you as a unanimous recommendation of your Board of Directors for Tax Increment Refinance Zone number 1. They considered in one of their recent meetings the notion that a future TIRZ that we want to create, which will be TIRZ number 3, has a slight overlap between TIRZ 1 and the proposed TIRZ 3. So, as you know, TIRZ number 1 is over 4,000 acres, and it spans everything from downtown to Buc-ee's to Crossroads. And there's sort of a northwestern extension of it that crosses into a small amount of land, 73 acres, that is owned by Anthony Properties. Anthony Properties came forward and said, you know, for the long-term administration of TIRZ number 3, which we'll talk about next, it probably makes more sense to remove this from TIRZ number 1 and place it into TIRZ number 3. We said we absolutely agree with that. Much better for auditing and paperwork and keeping the dollars straight. And so when we presented this to TIRZ number 1, they said, yep, that's the right strategy there. So this is sort of a cleanup. If you want to know where this is, it's an easy one. You go out to the corner of Los Lomas Boulevard and Spur 557. You exit to the south, and you'll find out there right now just a big old asphalt cul-de-sac. Nothing else out there. If you look left and you look right off of both sides on the south side of Spur 557, from there, you're going to be looking at that 73 acres. So that's the land we're talking about. And again, right now it's in TIRZ number 1. It's still agricultural, no value being created from it, no structures in that at all. And by moving it from TIRZ 1 to TIRZ 3, it just provides for better administration of both TIRZ 1 and TIRZ 3 because it eliminates this lack of clarity about property tax revenue and where would it go. So again, it's sort of an administrative cleanup in advance so that we don't step our own feet here. John, any other points I missed on that one?
No, same thing as I said before, this is Anthony Properties project. And I'll just interject here for what it's worth. You know, the TIRZ is a financing mechanism. It sets aside tax revenues from the city and from the county. Each of these 3 TIRZs that Mike's going to talk about tonight is going to be financed a little bit differently. The first one is the city's going to create a PID, a public improvement district, which some of you are familiar with because I know there's some PIDs in the city already. This is going to be, the MUD itself is going to incur the debt, the existing MUD. So when he's talking about the MUD, that MUD needs to be still there and it needs to be on all of the land. And then the third one that Mr. Sims is going to talk about here in a little bit is going to be funded through a WICID or a water something improvement district, conservation, control. I always forget what the C stands for, but I like WICID. Steve taught me how to say WICID. So that they will actually be selling the bonds in each case. In all cases, the city will not incur any debt on any of this whatsoever. Even though we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects, the city will not incur any debt. That's part of the reason for the TIRZ, and that's part of the reason each of them is set up uniquely based on the developer itself.
So these will come back to the council next Tuesday.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody have any comments or questions on item 7.2? Hearing none, our next item on the agenda is discuss resolution number 1095, a resolution authorizing issuance of a notice of intent that the city of Terrell, Texas intends to establish tax increment reinvestment zone number 3, city of Terrell, TIRZ number 3, pursuant to the Tax Increment Financing Act, Texas, Tax Code, Chapter 311 for the city of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the city secretary to publish a notice of public hearing in a newspaper of general circulation in the area and on the city website, authorizing preparation of an interlocal participation agreement for a partnership between the city of Terrell and Kaufman County, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with P3 Works LLC for TIRZ administration services, instruct the city's secretary to send notice of intent to all taxing entities within TIRZ number 3 pursuant to the Tax Increment Financing Act and providing an effective date. Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, probably the easiest page to look at here is going to be agenda item page 38. Again, that's the map. I've got a legal description in here also, but those are not as easy to look at as a map. So this time I'm north of Interstate 20. I'm south of Spur 557. You can see that overlap area north of the yellow city limit line up there. That's the spot we just talked about. So this is going to be sort of the western neighbor of Crossroads. You can see on the map there, FM 148, Crossroads, where Film Alley is, the first apartment complex out there. All of that is in TIRZ number 1, so directly across the street from TIRZ number 1, you get a chunk of land, a little bit over 700 acres, where the developer proposes to, again, do a voluntary annexation for most of it. There's a little bit of the corner, which is basically right across the way of Sage Hill Parkway, about 80, maybe about 100 acres outside the, or I'm sorry, in the city limits on this one. And again, a little under 700 acres being annexed. So the developer comes in, they build a series of public improvements, and this one they'll be building the extension of Los Lomas north-south across their property, getting themselves all the way down to Interstate 20. And this also facilitates the construction of Sage Hill Parkway in sort of the east-west direction, because eventually that is a fairly major east-west roadway for us. This is the one that was presented here recently to your Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning said move that forward for additional economic development negotiations. So they've taken their crack at it and given their vote on it. So what we're doing here is just, again, creating a resolution that says all the steps that need to happen. City Council goes ahead and directs staff to work through all of those steps. And of course, the first one is go forward and work with the county to get our agreement in place with the county related to TIRZ number 3. So any other wrap-up points on this one, John? It's same idea as the other one.
So just for clarity for the council, the steps that are taken is the council acts on it, then we go to the county, they act on it, and then we come back and actually work the deals through, right, where everybody.
Right, yeah. So the idea of the resolution is it's basically telling the county that we're not just making this up. We have an intent to go forward and do it. And then we go down to the county, we ask nicely for their vote. We hope that they do vote to participate in it. And only at such time that the county would say, yes, we would like to do this, do we come then back to council, and many of the things you see here turn into ordinances, and it's the passage of those ordinances that really bring the TIRZ to life.
Okay. Any questions on Resolution 1096? No, 1095, I'm sorry.
No, this is 96.
Is it 96?
I think we fast forward.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
you're already
Sorry,
up there,
sorry.
that's what
All
I
right,
thought.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
fast.
so that was
Yeah.
1095. All right, thank you, John. Our next item on the agenda is 7.4. Discuss resolution number 1096, a resolution authorizing issuance of a notice of intent that the city of Terrell, Texas intends to establish tax increment reinvestment zone number 4, city of Terrell, TIRZ number 4, pursuant to the Tax Increment Financing Act, Texas Tax Code, Chapter 311, for the city of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the city secretary to publish a notice of public hearing in a newspaper of general circulation in the area and on the city website, authorizing preparation of an interlocal participation agreement for a partnership between the city of Terrell and Kaufman County, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with P3 Works, LLC, for TIRZ administration services, instruct the city secretary to send notice of intent to all taxing entities within TIRZ number 4 pursuant to the Tax Increment Financing Act, and providing an effective date. This is City Manager.
So, Mayor and Council, again, same idea. We've got agenda item page 51, which shows you the map involved on this one. It's a total of 2,054 acres. It spans the very far western edge of the city, which is where US 80 goes out towards Big Brushy Creek. It covers about 600 acres of land that are outside the city limits at this time. So that's that far, I guess you'd call it the left-hand side of the map, but the west side of the map there. And you can see where the Spur 557 and US 80 come together. So that's the portion where the developer has come forward and said, and again, a third developer here. It's been publicly announced, and they did make a preliminary presentation to our Planning and Zoning Board that it's Hines, and they have a development on that 600-plus acres that they're naming North Spur. on the north side of the spur, 557, so that's good. Easy to find, and they wish to, again, voluntarily annex, as John said, keep their WCID in place and pay city property taxes, and then continue to manage that WCID. So we would allow that voluntary annexation. We would form the tax increment refinance zone. This project builds what I view as a very, very important baggage road to US 80. As you know, it's kind of a racetrack out in that area where people are kind of moving along the frontage road, moving out US 80. In order to be safe out there, we really need a baggage road on the north side of US 80 that will allow traffic to go back into town and kind of get onto US 80 in a safe manner. So there's a battle plan for that. There's a large amount of additional land proposed in this tax increment refinance zone, because we know the zone between State Highway 205 and that western boundary of town. So you see the kind of barbell shape here. So the eastern chunk of this TIRZ is a swath of vacant land that fronts up on State Highway 205. There's a drainage corridor right through there with Bachelor Creek just north of Walmart. So this does not include Walmart. It is excluded from this because it's an existing development, but it does stretch all the way over to the backside of Walmart and cover that additional land. So we felt like that was a beneficial job for us, because there's a lot of infrastructure development necessary on that vacant land that's shown sort of in that zone behind 205. So that's the idea on this one, and again, it's the same thing. We're saying, okay, county, we're serious. We'd like to move forward with this. We find it useful as a mechanism to build public infrastructure, and we hope that the county will agree, and we hope that we'll be able to develop this project.
Again, council, we'll see this again next Tuesday. Is there any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next item. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for being here. Our next item on the agenda is discuss development agreement for the South Adelaide Partnership. This is Municipal Development Director Charles Fenner.
Mayor, Council, how are y'all? Before you do have a developer's agreement. If you look right there in the front, staff report, it'll summarize everything up. The property is located on South Adelaide, and it's between Temple and Wheeler Street. It's zoned townhouse residential. And what we have here, well, you'll see right there some of the things we've worked out with the 1,700 square foot minimum, the 100% brick, with architectural elements in the landscape, with the live oak tree in the front yard, and of course the front porch. This will be developed into 2 lots. It's three lots right now. So it's lot 2 lots. It's lot 75, lot 3 which is 75 feet, and lot 4, which is 25 feet. And they're gonna put this together and try to make 2 50-foot lots. So it's the standard information that we put in all the developer agreements. Now, you may ask, okay, we know the 50-foot lot is not a popular thing right now, but you do have 2 lots. You have one 75-foot lot, and you have one 25-foot lot. It's hard to build on a 25-foot lot, okay? And in our townhome district, we do have a 35-foot width requirement for townhomes, and that's where this is zoned. So if they did 3 lots for the townhome, then you'd be 5 over, and then we'd be looking at building townhomes instead of the actual residential structures, and that's what we would rather have at this point. So everything's very standard in here. Like we put, the big deal is it's 1,700 square foot minimum dwelling, and the tree planted, the 21-foot setback from the back of the sidewalk, and I'll answer any questions for you.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Fenner?
Mr. Fenner, this would be considered an infill lot, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you know, when you have these 75-foot lots and the 25-foot lots, we have a lot of, like I said before, we have a lot of 25-foot lots. And we get in that legal issue of, hey, you need to make my lot buildable, because it was like that.
Okay, and just for clarification, I will just say, hey, I'm the probably loudest voice that is not a fan of the 50-foot lot, but this is an infill lot, and they're right, we need to make them buildable. So when you have a combined 100-foot, to make two 50-foot does seem reasonable. And it's an infield, so we do, should work with that. So with that being said, I'm in favor of the project.
And tell me
Thank
what
you.
this is zoned for right now.
It's zoned townhouse.
And it was just,
So in the townhouse, I'm sorry,
that's okay, it's a request of the builder to change the zoning.
yes, not change the zoning,
I mean, to
just,
replat the lots and build houses instead of townhomes.
yes, ma'am.
And I heard you say that you'd rather have houses. Is that just a staff preference, or is that based on our future plan, or what?
Well, when you have a townhouse at 35-foot lot, there's a lot more to work with. So if we were to create a 100-foot lot that needed 105 for townhomes with the common walls, you still have to deal with the access, the garage, and it makes it very difficult to do.
Yeah,
So,
I would say that you got to remember that's also embedded in your zoning ordinance because there's a minimum,
well,
there's requirements associated with doing a rear entry on townhouse, and so that becomes difficult in this particular kind of a location. And then you also have the issue of, I believe we have a minimum a minimum project size associated with townhouse in our latest zoning update.
well, we have a lot size 3,500. Is that correct?
Spinner.
I had to look at her, you know that. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
What is the, how many acres is this property here?
Excuse me?
What's the acreage of this property? This site?
So it's 100, it would be, well, it's 75 altogether. Tell you the square foot right on,
By 125.
it'll be 6,200 square foot as two lots, 250-foot lots by 120. So each lot would be 6,200 square foot. So if you double that, it will be 12,000 square foot, because it's 200, 125 by, if it was 100, if it was one full lot, if it was 100 by 125, it'd be 12,500 square foot lot. Currently, the 25-foot by 125 is about 3,000. And then the vacant lot itself right now is 9,300 square foot lot, the current one, in the current configuration of 75 by 125. So if you put them all together, if you put them just as one lot, it would be about 12,500. And if you subdivide them into 250 by 120s, you'll have two 6,200 square foot lots.
I guess that's two-car garage,
Yes, sir.
a lot of parking on the streets and all that, so that's usually my main concern when we plat lots, to have two homes, but.
Okay. Anybody else? Again, this will,
The two lots that are north of the property, those vacant lots, is the same, are they owned by the same builder, property owner?
Not that I know of, no ma'am.
Not that we know of. If they were owned by the same builder, he could essentially have one, you could potentially make some townhomes on the property.
Across the street or,
No, directly north, so not,
oh, directly north, okay.
yeah, no, I don't know, so let's stay on the lots that we're discussing currently.
Now, yeah, sorry.
You all right? No. So the South Adelaide Partnership consists of those lots 3 and 4. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's what we are discussing. Does anybody have any questions on lots 3 and 4? That's a good question, though, Mayor Ronnie. I think the answer is no, they're owned by separate people.
well, I understand that they're owned by separate people. The question is relevant because if they're owned by the same people, then they could potentially have more lot size to potentially do some townhousing if we were to go down that route. I'm
Yes.
familiar with the area. It's right beside the church. The houses behind would match, if these homes were built, they would match what's behind the houses currently. And you're right, you would have some buildable lots. Now, they are smaller than the lots across the street. Those homes are bigger. However, that's what we're working with. I mean, it would be nice if maybe, depending, and I'd have to familiarize myself a little bit more with the townhome lots and what can get built on those specifically for this area. But if that homeowner, landowner owned those lots, then maybe it would be a different conversation. I do support the request.
Okay. Any,
I'm just looking at our current ordinance. I think we're still going down that pathway of making lots smaller. I was thinking, if you got 100 feet, I'm thinking, okay, plat it together and build a house based on our current standards and the ordinances that we passed just here a few months ago. I still don't think it adheres to it with this, but
well,
I think
I
we're
guess,
keep running into these things.
Well, we're gonna, we're gonna keep running into these, especially with these 25-foot lots, because you'll see another one with a few lots and combining them. And to Marani's, Councilmember Velasquez, your question is, it does require a different type of development. So we have to look at the site overall for any kind of the townhome development. So we'd have to make sure that there's rear entry. We'd have to make sure some other things happen. And as far as what you're saying, we could leave one lot at 75 by 125. That's a 9,000 square foot lot. That's a great lot. But what do we do with 25-foot lot? So we are not telling them what to do. What we know has happened in the past is people have come through here with these two types of lots, and they've come and asked for a variance. And so when they get a variance, all they're doing is saying, hey, I want a 250-foot lots. ZBA may say, hey, this is hardship because this lot was platted prior to the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance. And so they say, sure, let's do it. And they do 250-foot lots. And that's the end. We have no other incentives from the city, whether we get work, square footage size or landscaping, setbacks, things like that.
I would just say, it's more advantageous to the city to work with builders and trying to get something that works for the builder and for us as a city as we move forward. Something that looks good and is of good quality.
Yes, sir.
So,
And a lot of these are not the big builders. These are just individuals that are purchasing lots that may have built one or two houses. And so this was the route that we had determined that we would go in the past. And we're going to run into the 50-foot lots, but you're also going to run into a problem with the 25-foot lot. And I think legal could tell you that since there is a obsolescence there's an issue there, we have to figure out a way to let them build on that lot, that 25-foot lot, and that becomes somewhat of an issue, so.
I just want our ordinances to be consistent with what we're saying. My understanding, we want bigger houses because we have an excessive number of houses a certain size, so now we're trying to get those bigger houses. If I understand the vote and the ordinances we passed, to me, they need to add the 25 feet to the 75 and put a house on this lot and use the lot, use the space, maybe 3-car garage instead of 2. I just want to make sure that our ordinances are sensible and that our decisions are supporting the ordinances that we've already made. That's my comment. You can probably figure what my vote's gonna be, but I think I've said what I think and what I see based on adding these lots together, dividing them, making them 50-foot lots, put 2 houses. These are probably gonna be 2-story houses too with a 50-foot lot. We finna be inundated with 2-story homes because of our ordinances. And now we don't wanna follow those, and we don't wanna, I just got to have a better understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and we may have to revisit some things because this doesn't make sense to me.
You referenced the last ordinance we passed, where we talked about the 2,000 square feet?
Yeah, if we need bigger, this is a good opportunity to build something bigger.
So you're, in this way, in this developers agreement allows them to, allows the council to have you could vote on this developers agreement and say, no, I don't want 1,700 square foot, I want 2,000 square foot. This is just a way to kind of the developers agreement's a give and take. There's no money exchange. It's a give and take of what's good.
Is this SF6?
This is town,
7.5?
this is townhouse residential.
Townhouse, you did say that. I got you.
So, you know what, for all of us, you know, I wish there was a way that we could build an ordinance that just fit everything, and that there wasn't a need for variance from anyone. But that's not the real world. We just, because of our community, we're not a startup community where we don't have these issues that a town of our, that's been around for almost 150 years now, doesn't deal with, right? So we just have smaller lots, but we want to be able to work with the developers or the builders, in this case, not a big developer, but somebody that's just trying to build 2 nice homes for the city, and he's come across a piece of property that has 75 and a 2,500 square foot, right? Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
75? And wanting to put them together and split them up for 50 and 50. I just don't see.
Well, it'd be moving the lot line over with that 25 foot, so it does take away from the 75 and it gives to the,
Yes.
the
Yeah, so
25.
let me go back to the theory about what we're doing with these small-scale development agreements. The thought was that if we send somebody in this owner's position to zoning board of adjustments, that's like the only solutions they have at ZBA under state law tend to be very sledgehammer related, right? They don't get to make detailed recommendations. They either say, well, you know what, we're going to allow you to move that lot line, or we're not going to allow you to move that lot line, and it's just like a light switch up and down. I'm either going to move the lot line or I'm not. And you would get a presentation from the owner. The owner would say to ZBA, hey, I'm in a hardship because I've got this 25-foot lot. May I move the lot line? And if they vote yes, and they move forward and they build according to our current rules, and also with no requirement that it be a masonry house. The theory, when Charles and I brought forward this idea about doing these individual small-scale agreements, was instead of forcing people through the ZBA process, allow them to come in and just talk about it. And there would be give and take. So in this particular situation, you've got a landowner who said, well, let's move the lot line. Let's increase the brick percentage so that it's, as shown here, with 100% brick or stone on the first floor and the second floor being 25% brick. And then that's a thing they're not required to do right now. That could easily be a wood frame house. They're saying they're willing to do a brick house. And so that's a thing that we get that we're not allowed to do by zoning anymore. So that's part of the trade-off. They asked for a slightly smaller house. We said, okay, we're trying to have a give and take here. I would never present to council that these give and take small-scale agreements are anything other than just a pure judgment call, right? It's y'all's judgment call, you know? And if you want to move forward on these or say, no, I'd prefer not to move forward on these, then that's just judgment call by council. If you vote no, then my suggestion to you is that the applicant would probably pursue going to ZBA, and they would make a presentation to ZBA, and ZBA may or may not want to move that lot line. If you guys vote yes, then that's fine. We'll move forward according to this development agreement. And if you've got different instructions from Mr. Fenner that everybody kind of can agree to, then you can put that in form of a motion, and we can give different instructions to Mr. Fenner on this project.
Again, so this will be brought up at next week, Tuesday.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
Can 2 townhomes be built on this lot?
On,
Can the townhomes be bigger? You said 35, 35, and 35, we're 5 feet short. Can 2 townhomes be built on this lot?
on the 75-foot lot?
On the 100?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And I also want to say, I think it's great to have building here, but I don't have an opposition to houses and structures that's not brick. That may be a personal preference or a staff preference, but as a council member, I believe it's okay for a house to be frame or wood. It's more work to paint it every few years, but if that's your preference and you like that and you want that, I'm okay with it. I don't want to be dealing with ordinances and things like that to force our preferences on our citizens or on our builders.
We
want them to build safe structures, nice structures, and be accountable. And that's kind of my stance, and that's what I believe. But I was just thinking we could still keep the same type of structures, and we could have a nicer townhome, okay? But 3 may not be optional, may not be an option because we're 5 feet short. We can't get more land, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anyone else? All right, next item on the agenda is discuss development agreement for the Stallings Street Partnership. Again, Mr. Fenner. Or is this O'Mara?
I think this
I
is,
think he's gonna throw you under the bus, O'Mara.
yeah, she, no, I think this one's, this one's more straightforward in talking with this group and this applicant and working this out. This happens to be 3 lots. So there's lot 11 that's 50 foot, lot 12 that's 50 foot, lot 10 that's 25 foot. So you have 3, and you're taking them down to 2, and they're requesting a 63 foot lot width, which is just 2 foot under our requirement. However, there's a 142 foot depth, which makes it about almost a 9,000 square foot lot. So you're taking 3, creating 2. So the same standards on this one is 1,700 square foot, and if you look in here, it's the same thing. We have a garage setback 21 foot from the back of the porch. We have the tree and the landscaping that will be planted, 100% brick on the front, first floor, 25% on anything that's above that. They can do architectural features to set that off. So that's pretty much a simple presentation to say, hey, we're taking 2 50-foot lots and the 25 and making it into two different lots. So that's a 125-foot lot by the 150, and anyhow.
Okay. You know what the beautiful thing about America and Terrell is that you can have 5 different representatives with 5 different opinions. We'll figure it out, we'll vote on it, and move on in the best interest of the city. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Fenner on this agreement? Again, taking 3, going to 2.
63 foot.
Right.
I can tell you this, we have taken your comments and we have studied, because we actually have, 8 more, 9 more? So we have to look at these things and say, hey,
What I've heard from the council.
from what I've heard from the council, this is the only way it can really go.
That's exactly
So,
what you should be doing.
this is not something that we have to do. If somebody applies for the zoning board of adjustment, we have to process that. Developers agreements are just those opportunities for us to work a little extra harder.
Okay.
So,
I would like to say, I vote no on a good deal of these. This one I'm supportive of. But I am proud of your department for working with the builders in infield lots. I mean, this is there's a lot coming forward. And whether council votes up or down, it is action, and it is.
Sure.
It is the city working towards the common goal of making lots buildable. So I applaud the city, whether I agree with them. I don't always agree with everything put forward, but anyways, but good for us for working on infield lots.
Yeah.
I'm just happy you're not asking us to make 3 41-foot lot out of here, so I appreciate that.
Next time.
Okay, I got you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Our next item is business items. 8.1, discuss and consider resolution number 2018, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, adopting the updates to Chapter 7, amending Subsection A, removing Chapter 14 to the City of Terrell Employee Handbook, and declaring an effective date. This is our Human Resources Director, Carol Holland. Ms. Holland, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you Resolution number 2018. It is a part of the City of Terrell Employee Handbook. Originally, there were the attire for our uniformed public outfield, public service, and our utility personnel. They were required, are required to wear uniforms. There was a separation of the clothing and the footwear. Clothing, the City of Terrell enter into an agreement with outside vendors and provide those clothes, the shirt and the pants at no cost to the employee. There was a separate section originally in Chapter 14 in which the employee was required to purchase their own safety boots because the thinking at that time was they wore them 24/7, and some of the times it wasn't work-related. But again, as I presented on last Tuesday, times have changed, and it's in the best interest of, in my opinion, for the City of Terrell, that we supplement the cost of the boots that the employee is paying, because they are, again, exposed to more of the unsanitized areas within the city, in water that is contaminated, using the safety boots in hot asphalt and concrete. So they are changing out the shoes more frequent than the safety shoes more frequent than originally proposed. So it is my belief, it's also my proposal that the City Council passes Resolution 2018 to supplement the employee's cost of the safety shoes and integrate that provision into Chapter 7, which is also the uniform, and make it one as one uniformed piece of wear.
I think this is a reasonable request of our HR Director. Is there any new questions for Ms. Holland on this item? Hearing none, is there a motion on 8.1?
Mayor, make a motion that we approve 8.1, item 8.1.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there a second? Have a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 3. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with unanimous consent of those present. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We do have Tim Royce, District 5, with us in the chambers. Next item on the agenda is item 8.2, discuss and consider updates to the Employee Handbook, Chapter 6, leaves. This is Mr. Sims.
So Mayor and Council, I'm going to ask Carol to stay up here because we're going to kind of tag team this. So right now, we have a group of holidays: New Year's Eve, Martin Luther King Day, Good Friday, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then one floating holiday. That's the lineup right now. As you know, last summer we talked a little bit about the proposal to maybe make a modification in this. Talked about a handful of different ideas last time around. We talked about adding Juneteenth. We talked about adding the day after Christmas, which is kind of a low interaction day for our citizens to come see us. Talked about maybe potentially adding an additional floating holiday. kicked it around, didn't really get to a conclusion on it. With Juneteenth coming up, and with kind of the summer of 2022 upon us here, we thought, well, let's just stick this back on the agenda. Let's have a little conversation about it. So I'll turn it over to Mayor and Carol, and you guys can kind of chat through it. Carol, you want to jump in any, or?
You got any, Carol, would you like to speak?
Well, yes, and Parson, we're talking about, on leaves, we're talking about the Karen 11 holidays that the city employees are afforded. And then the first conversation I would like to tackle would be the upcoming Juneteenth holiday. And then separate would be the Friday after Christmas Day. As you know, Juneteenth was passed last legislative session by the U.S. Congress, and it is a federal holiday. It is not a state holiday, and we are in limbo as to whether or not the state of Texas will pass it as a holiday. As I talked to the city manager this morning, there are some concerns I have because Juneteenth, actually June 19th, it is a day that's mobile, that it moves throughout the month. And there is not a specific date of celebration. As, for example, Martin Luther King Day has been determined to be the third Monday in January, notwithstanding the numeric date. And that makes it easier to plan. But when you have a date like Independence Day or Christmas Day that moves, it makes it a little difficult for us to plan services. With the upcoming June 19th day, June 19th is actually on a Sunday. So if it were passed in 2022, that would have meant that we would have closed on the Monday, because our policy reads, the holiday comes on a Sunday, you observe the following Monday. If it's on a Saturday, then the preceding Friday. So because that day moves, my recommendation would be not address it until such time as the state of Texas addresses it, and they may give a solid date of observance instead of it being it moves throughout the month.
Okay. Well, so I'm understanding you, though, if we did, in our policy, let's say we did the 19th. If it falls on the 19th and it's Monday through Friday, we would be closed.
That day, correct.
Right. If it happens to be on a Saturday, it would be
The Friday.
the Friday, which means they would have Friday and Saturday, because Saturday's not a business day for the city, right?
For administration.
For administration. If it falls on a Sunday, then they would have the 19th and then the following day, which would be the Monday, correct?
Correct. And then it would have the monetary impact, because those employees who are shift employees or 24/7 employees, then they would be compensated for that day.
Okay.
In addition, there is a compensation because we're off, but it would be actual money for those departments.
Time and a half for those that are working on Juneteenth.
Well, time, not and a half, but just time.
Just-
It'd be an additional 8 hours of pay.
I've got
Oh, I thought-
Glenn Caldwell smiling over here because
He
there's
wants time
just
and a
so many implications
Wait
to
a minute,
this.
so if we make it a holiday, though, it would be time and a half to the employees?
No, it will be
No.
time,
Be just time?
yes.
Okay.
Question, is administration asking for an additional holiday this year? Is that the ask?
No,
No.
no, we are bringing up, because Juneteenth happens to follow on a Monday, right? And there's gonna be celebrations. Breezy Hill's gonna be celebrating on Monday.
Monday.
I said, well, let's let the council discuss what we want to do with our employees. Now, for me, here's my stance on it.
But are we asking for an additional?
Yeah, let me.
We're talking it through to see if we want to move in that direction.
Yeah, and let me just clarify here to answer your question. There's not a staff statement here that says, well, by golly, we really demand or we really request that council do one thing or the other. I saw it as unfinished business, that we didn't reach a conclusion the last time we talked about it. So when the topic came up again, I said, you know what, let's get this back on the agenda, and let's see if there's a consensus at council to go a particular direction. Carol's bringing up some logistical issues, and they're just issues, right? We're not telling y'all how to vote. We're just saying there are logistical issues there with the implementation of that.
Correct.
Glenn's guys are going to be working sponsoring the event whenever the event is, and he's got a big smile on his face because he knows he's going to go work the event, and that's okay, right? You know, that's what we do. We support what the celebration element is. So we're not saying we have a request of you. We're saying, sounds like we didn't finish the conversation last time around. Let's go ahead and allow council an opportunity to discuss this topic. And so we're just going to kind of sit back and let y'all talk about it.
And I agree 100% with what, and that's the right thing to do, is let the council discuss it and figure out what we want and what we would decide to do, right?
Ms. Holland, is this just administrative staff, you say?
No, he was, the question was posed, only administration, who would be off? And it would be, obviously, administration, the 8 to 5, but it would also have a monetary impact because those employees who are shift employees and/or 24/7 employees, they will be compensated for that day because it's an official holiday.
So if public service guys was going out and working Juneteenth celebration, they get an additional 8 hours? Is that what that means?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Ms. Holland, how many holidays do we currently have?
11.
11. Okay, and in my world, it's floated between 11 and 12. So my comment is, I'm supportive if the city comes back with an ask to add a floating holiday and it be at the discretion of the employee. Meaning, a floating holiday, I believe, is use it or lose it, and then it's also dispersed amongst the calendar year.
Correct.
So that it would not, employees, I have 2 personal floating holidays. It just lets the employees have a little more flexibility. That's my opinion. So I'm in favor of adding an additional floating holiday if the city of Terrell comes back and asks council for it, and that's my comment.
Wait, well, I just want to make sure I understand an additional floating holiday that they could take if they chose to take it. So,
They will be given a date, but they will choose, I would like to take it on Juneteenth, or I would like to take it on August the 8th because that's my birthday and that's a holiday for me. Hooray. A floating holiday is simply a day off, but it does not hold the value of a PTO day or a sick day or a paid time off day. It is a use it or lose it date. It is truly a floating date that any employee chooses to take.
so, we've had a lot of discussion about our employees and about how their pay. If we're able to give them an additional, and I don't know if this means giving them that day or giving them another floating day like you're talking about, but any opportunity that we get to reward the employee for working for the city is a good thing, what I see. Now, I'm hearing a recommendation from our HR that we not do it yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm recommending that, again, that you not accelerate the state of Texas. I would like for it to, because I would like for it to be structured. And if the state of Texas passes it as the third Monday or whatever day, then that would be a better day for us to plan. Instead of whenever Juneteenth occurs, we're off. So that meant if we are in the middle of a pay cycle and it's on a Wednesday, then we shut down and lose that day and then come back on a Thursday. If it's a day where the utility department has their schedule of cutoffs or bill due and it's on that day, then we lose production. That's my point. Until I would like for it to be structured instead of it we be in front and then take it as Juneteenth whenever Juneteenth occurs.
Anybody else have any comments on it?
Carol, to make sure I understand correctly, we have 11 holidays and one floating holiday already, or
No.
only 11 holidays?
11 holidays inclusive of a floating holiday.
So 10 holidays plus the one floating,
Yes.
yes.
Carol, did you say at the beginning of your presentation that you also wanted to discuss a day in December?
Yes, once the discussion closes on the June 10th, 19th holiday, I would also like to discuss a non-productive day, which is usually the day after Christmas. We are already awarded Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then the day after Christmas is usually a non-productive day in that we are running a skeleton crew because a lot of people take off.
Yeah, the day after Christmas, I would say, if you want to ask for a day where we have the fewest number of customers come in and need help and assistance, that's your day. So, again, not trying to tell the council where to go on this, because I think it is important that you guys embrace your discussion and your decision-making here. That's the three different versions of the consideration, so.
Brady, did you have a opinion on it, or, Ms. Holmes, you have opinion on it?
I really don't. They know the trends of the city as far as, production and all that. I don't have any expertise in that, so I'm trusting you guys' judgment on that. And I'll support whatever
So
you decide, or you
we're
would
gonna-
tell us. That's
you're
good.
comfortable going with the recommendation of staff? Okay.
Yes.
Everybody else? Yes? Okay, so we're gonna wait until the state, if they do something, then we'll act on that.
Okay.
All right? On just the Juneteenth, now let's talk about the 26th.
Right.
What about on the 26th?
Floating holiday handles both problems.
We already have a floating holiday.
I'm saying that I'm supportive of an additional day. It is just an additional award to staff.
So you want to do 11 plus 1,
I'm saying.
making the 26th.
10 holidays plus 2 floating.
Wait, say that again?
There's 10 set holidays.
Yes.
And right now, there's 1 floating.
Yes.
My proposal is 10 set, 2 floating, just giving the employee an additional floating holiday.
So if they want to take it on the 26th, they can. If they want to take it on the 22nd, they can.
It's truly their prerogative. There is no limitations.
Are we able to get anything done if we have a skeleton crew here at the city?
Well,
I mean, if you got
does
half of the
everything,
people.
so,
if
yeah,
you
we
got-
do.
I'm
We get
just
a lot
saying,
done.
if we're not going to get anything done, why?
No, Mayor,
why
I would
even
tell you
have 'em
that-
here?
no,
I would think that it would, obviously, it is a skeleton crew, and it's difficult to,
Why not just give them the
Anything
day
that-
off,
yeah.
right?
So just,
Just give them the day off.
yeah, just let's pause for a minute here. Remember that the department head is still managing their department. So if the department head looks at 3 or 4 requests to be off on a certain day, the department head sits down and says, okay, guys, I can't honor everybody's request to honor your floating holiday today. Let's talk this through and figure out who's going to get time off and who's not going to get the time off. If everybody asks for the same day, it's a common issue in any workplace. The department head supervisor says, hey, we can all be off that day. I don't care if everybody got married that day and everybody wants to go on their anniversary that day. We got to work together, and that's just normal part of it. The easiest thing for staff to administer is floating holiday because there's the ultimate flexibility there. We've got employees who regularly say, you know what, I've got an event in January. I'm going to take a day in January off every year because that's just convenient for me. And we've got employees who say, you know what, I don't even worry about the floating holiday, and they let it expire. And so it is what it is. You know, it's just a thing that has discretion associated with it.
All right, let's keep the one floating holiday and close on, just give them the 26th.
Yeah.
Drawn to the idea of having the 11 holidays. Now, I'm seeing that 10 is the national average, is what I'm finding online. I don't see why we're not discussing. Well, here's my recommendation. I'd like to see 11 holidays. We're already on a skeleton crew in December, the day after Christmas. I think lots of, not everybody celebrates, Christmas. However, I think a majority of our staff may. and they're already having to take time to take that day off specifically during the holiday. So why not already, give them that day specifically if we're already running on a skeleton crew day? And then, we already discussed, let's see what comes back regarding Juneteenth.
Okay,
Thank
so I'm going to comment to the mayor and councilwoman. If we raise our hand and say, right, our action today is December 26th, hooray, we've added a holiday. Now the state of Texas comes back in a few months. You still have this other holiday that you have not addressed. So that means I have to add an additional holiday, which is once again taken away from production, or you have to ignore it, right? So I'm saying, if you give the 26th, how are you going to address Juneteenth
Take
should the
away
state
the
of
floating
Texas?
holiday and just give it to them on the,
No, you don't take anything away. I don't want to take.
well, then we'll
someone's
add the
floating
other
holiday
one,
away.
man. You know what? It's 2 days over a 365-day
That's fine.
year.
I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just saying if you
Well, you know
give
what?
your
If-
feel-good 26,
If the city of Terrell gives an extra day than everybody else does nationally, I'm okay
you know
with that.
what? I would like staff to come back with a recommendation.
They have.
No, they haven't.
Yes, she has.
No, they haven't. Has
What's
staff-
your recommend? I heard them say, wait on Juneteenth for the state, and I heard them go on the 26th. Did y'all hear that?
Maybe I missed
Or
it.
maybe
Well,
that was
my
just
first
me.
my first comment is
Maybe
going
I'm,
to be.
maybe I'm not hearing
Let,
correctly.
holidays are about the love,
Can I
so
say-
let's
I know,
just
right?
calm down.
No, this is how we show love up here, right? But I got a question for you. Do you need to come back and we vote on it, or can we just by consent? Maybe this is Mary Gill. What are we doing here?
You need to come back. It's a part,
Okay.
because it's a part of a handbook. It needs to
Okay, well,
become.
bring that baby back for the 26th, please. Does anybody have?
to see, with all the
I'm gonna
information.
make you go on record.
With all the information that Ms. Holland is getting from us now, she can go back, consider what's best for her department, and then come back to us and go according to her recommendation.
Yeah.
Bingo, kumbaya. I feel the love.
So if that's the direction that is council's will, remember this was listed as discuss and consider. So what I would suggest you do, if that's the will of the council, is somebody should make a motion saying that they want to postpone until HR review of this topic. And if that were the motion, then I think that would mirror what you guys just had a moment of love about,
I'm
okay?
good to go. I don't know what the wait is, man.
And the way
Old
that I'll,
Scrooge over there, he's not gonna do anything.
well, the way that I'll review it
Holiday.
is I'll put a calendar up and I'll watch the deluge of people run to that calendar and put their name down. And then I'll tell you how many
I
people
know,
put their
right?
name
There'll
down.
be nobody left on the 26th. That's my point.
Okay,
All
Mayor,
right,
make a
but we're
motion
gonna- hey,
to
we
postpone
are-
until the next meeting.
All right, I got.
Or until Ms. Holland brings back forward.
All right, I got a motion from Tim Royce, District 5. Is there a second? Have a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries with unanimous consent of the council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Our next item on the agenda is discuss and consider resolution number 2015, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, authorizing the Chief of Police to execute a memorandum of understanding with Southwestern Christian College for the purpose of providing law enforcement services and mutual aid to the areas common to the City of Terrell, Texas, and Southwestern Christian College. This is Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, we had our police chief here last time around to brief you on this item. Again, we've got an agreement of this form in place. We always like to review those, go through them with a little bit of a fine-tooth comb, make sure that we're happy with them, and get them updated on a regular basis so they're always fresh. It's a little bit of an exercise, just like we do with the financial policy, of making sure that it's top of mind, and if there's any little nuances that need to get edited, everybody's on the same page. And I'll tell you that in this day and age, it doesn't take very long of paying attention to the news to tell you how important it is for different law enforcement agencies to all be on the same page. So kudos to Ken McKean for bringing this forward, and a thanks to Southwestern Christian College for their work with us on this topic as well.
All right, does anybody have any new questions for Mr. Sims This was presented to us by our police chief, Ken McKean, last week. Any questions? We're missing a council member. Sorry. Is there a motion on item 8.3?
Motion to approve resolution number 2015.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is 8.4, discuss and consider resolution number 2016, a resolution of the Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the City of Terrell, Texas to enter into an interlocal agreement with Trinity Valley Community College to provide law enforcement services and mutual aid by the City of Terrell Police Department and the Trinity Valley Community College Police Department to the areas common to the City of Terrell, Texas, and Trinity Valley Community College, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate the terms and execute the interlocal agreement. Again, Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, similar idea here. We want to have a agreement in place with Trinity Valley Community College. We have one already. This allows us to update it. It goes through, again, all the basics. We've got things that we're good at and that we're experts in, so we provide those services to Trinity Valley as need be. They do some of the day-to-day work on their location. And again, it gives an opportunity to review emergency procedures, gives us an opportunity to make sure our communication is fresh with our partner over there at Trinity Valley Community College, and just healthy exercise and keeping this up to date.
All right. Any new questions? Again, we were briefed on this matter last Tuesday by Police Chief Ken McKean. Is there a motion on item 8.4?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 16.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there a second? Have a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is 8.5. Discuss and consider resolution number 2017, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the City of Terrell, Texas, to enter into an interlocal agreement with Terrell Independent School District to provide law enforcement services and mutual aid by the City of Terrell Police Department and the Terrell Independent School District Police Department to the areas common to the City of Terrell, Texas, and Terrell Independent School District, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate the terms and execute the interlocal agreement. Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, again, similar idea on this particular one. I'll let you know that we also did sponsor a lunch with the mayor and the head of the ISD Police Department and our police chief. Just another little opportunity to have a little friendship and learning and discussion there. I thought that was a healthy exercise. We get the question quite often, do we do active shooter drills? And the answer is yes. We've done that for years. Our officers are all go through classes related to what to do in case of an active shooter. We've got a great communication protocol associated with that. The ISD police chief is fairly new, but well-versed in all these topics as well. So we've got good confidence there, and it was a great opportunity, again, to just have communication, keep the communication fresh, keep the communication open. And again, we have an agreement in place related to this topic, and this freshens it up, and happy to bring it forward to you.
Again, this was presented to us by Police Chief Ken McKean last Tuesday. Is there any new questions? And I just want to thank our police chief and the Terrell Independent School District chief for taking time to meet, have lunch. It was a very productive meeting. I look forward to briefing council on improvements that we make in our agreement as we move forward. Is there any new question? Hearing none, is there a motion on item 8.5?
Mayor and Council, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2017.
We have a motion from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 4. Is there a second? Have a second from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is 8.6, discuss and consider award of Boone Street improvements. Mike McKeska.
Okay, Mayor and Council are going to bring a recommendation regarding a construction contract on Boone to do water and sewer improvements between Mineral Wells and West End. It'll be the complete paving of the street as well, replacing some old, some undersized infrastructure and deteriorated infrastructure. There's also going to be some stormwater work, both pipe and some ditch grading along West End from Bradshaw, then going to the east for several hundred feet. We took bids on May 24th, had 5 bids that came in. SPI reviewed them, have made a recommendation. There is a letter on page 113 with a bid tab on 114. They're recommending Jeske Construction Company. As mentioned last week, we have not done work with them, but SPI checked references. They got some calls back. Good comments. The company's been in business since the 50s and done a lot of work in the Dallas area. So our recommendation is to authorize the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Jeske. There is a notice to proceed on page 115 that we intend to issue upon approval, as well as a contract following that. The amount is not to exceed $623,688. And the funding would be split between the Utility Capital Reserve and the Stormwater Fund. I mentioned last week probably about $75,000 of the cost will be Stormwater Fund. The remaining in the UCR will start work this year, and then work would continue into next fiscal year. So that is our recommendation. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Does anybody have any new questions for McKeska on this item? Hearing none, is there a motion on 8.6?
We are saying the not to exceed amount, correct, in this motion?
That is correct.
623,688 is the number.
Okay. All right, Mayor, Council, may I make a motion that we approve the improvements for Boone Street for an amount of $623,688 not to exceed.
Do we need to name the bidder? Jeske Construction.
Jeske, yes.
Awarded to, the contract awarded to Jeske Construction.
Got motion from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there a second? I have a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is 8.7, discuss and consider dump truck purchase for the utility department. Mr. Glenn Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, Council, always honored to be before you all. Well, I can admit that I was wrong from the previous meeting, and that's okay. We obviously discussed the purchase of a 6-yard dump truck, which was actually MD6, and I told y'all that they would hold that dump truck. Well, they didn't. Sold. But there's an irony in all of this. So we are awarded the opportunity to acquire a MD7, which is an upgrade on the dump truck. Obviously, it's much stouter, much stronger. It still will be a non-CDL unit, so you don't have to have a CDL to drive this unit. But it's going to cost us a little over the amount we expected prior, which was about $5,400 more, which is still a killer deal. So we get a bigger truck, we get a stronger truck, we get a better product for $5,400 versus getting the truck we asked for earlier for the same money. So it's just a no-brainer here for me, in my opinion. So,
Buying Mr. Caldwell's sale. I told you, I knew they were gonna sell it.
you said it. You're right, Ms. Smith.
When you get a deal, you better jump on it.
I know,
All right.
but in the irony of all of this, we have funds available in our existing budget to pay for this unit. So we've got $5,400 reserved just to cover this cost if council approves it.
I'm good. Anybody have any comments, questions? A little bit more diesel fuel. Is it a diesel or is it,
It is a diesel, 6.7, yes, sir.
is there, a motion on item 8.7?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the dump truck outlined in 8.7.
Won't give them a day off, but you'll give them a dump truck. All right, so, we got a motion from Tim Royce, District 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda, are we postponing this one?
Yes, we are going to postpone this one. We got some late-breaking edits that came in, and want to give them all due respect for us to study up what was submitted to us, so we'll ask to postpone it until a future meeting.
No argument from the mayor. Our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items are considered to be routine and may be,
We need a motion to postpone.
oh, we need a motion to postpone on item 8? Sorry. 8.8. Is there a motion to postpone?
8.8.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is consent agenda. All consent items are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion and one vote. Is there a motion on 9.1?
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Grady Simpson, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous consent of the council. Our next item on the agenda is to adjourn an executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following: Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property; Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations; and we also have consultation with attorneys at this time. And we're going to do executive session in the Tommy Spencer room. We're going to reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session. Is there any motions? Hearing none, we are adjourned.